Okay, dope. That was a quick performance of a track that I was working on with my homie Zilly Holiday. We'll be dropping that soon. But we're back with another Behind the Pads, episode 13. And I am going to keep this one quick, hopefully concise, and smooth sailing from this point forward. I'm going to be talking about perform effects and just quickly go over, how you load it up, what the effects are, what you can do with them, and in what kind of a context you can use them in. So I'll start with what perform effects are, and they're literally what the name says they are. It's very straightforward. They are for performance effects and only for your groups. You can't use it as like a master effect. You can't use it as a single sound effect. It can only be applied to an entire group. So I'll show you how to open the effects first. And the cool thing about perform effects is that no matter where you're selected on, and this was an update that happened, I think maybe earlier this year or late last year, but no matter what plugin you're selected on, because I have on this guitar, for example, right here, I have a filter, a compressor, actually two compressors for sidechain, and another filter actually. And no matter where you are in the chain, you can shift and hit perform effects and it'll add it afterwards. And you can keep adding more effects post the perform effects. But the cool thing is now is you can go in and there's filter, flanger, burst echo, reso echo, ring, stutter, tremolo, and scratcher. A few that I use so often are obviously filter, burst echo, and the stutter effect, and sometimes a scratcher for specific things, but I feel like I can achieve really similar results with my stutter effect for what I'm trying to get with the scratcher. The thing about perform effects is that you can only use one at a time. You can't go in and I think it's different if you have the Maschine Jam with all the sliders on it or the touch faders, but as far as Maschine goes, you can only use one perform effects at a time. So on this guitar, for example, I started off using the filter and I had it set at high pass, and I turned the resonance down pretty much all the way, and then you can it goes backwards, like if I slide up, it rolls out all the bottom end, and as you pull it back, it rolls the bottom end back in. So if I play it, and it kind of, you know what I mean? It's subtle, but I was using it in combination with the reverb on the SP for the intro of the track, but in this case, we'll just not worry about the SP for now. Once you have your song structured out and you kind of like, I approach this as a live performance in a way. Even though I'm not finger drumming, I'm still doing so many things where I'm exporting my stereo track by doing the solos, the mutes, and especially in this case, the perform effects. And it kind of gives you this alive, more organic export of your track. And all that being said, like I track to a stereo audio track in Ableton, but you can do it internally or you can do it at like stemmed out into Ableton or however you want. The cool thing is that you can automate the perform effects by holding auto as you're doing it, and it'll write the automation in. In my case, I didn't use auto. I was switching too quickly between different perform effects and different groups, and like I said, because I'm going down to a stereo track, it's pretty straightforward, and I'm not, worried about the stems for right now. So basically, it depends what effect you're using, but in this case with the filter, it's pretty straightforward. You can play with the resonance if you want. So when we have it like this, you can... And you can do cool things, like if I put it on low pass, like, there's ways to get really creative with using the filter. And then for burst echo, I was using it on this cool keyboard sound, a bit of a vibraphone washed out. So with the burst echo, it's cool because it takes a freeze of the last thing you hit, and that's your feedback. So as I pull it back, it rolls off, and it's nice where you can kind of like start messing with the intensity and bringing that back down, and it kind of helps with like transitional parts and just, again, in general, adding a little bit of flavor to your track or your your instruments. So again, all these effects are really straightforward and really well laid out as far as like what everything is. There's your echo time, the time mode if you want it dotted or if you want it straight, the filter on the actual effect. So if you don't want any bottom end in it, you can just do the top and have it so that it only filters out. But it's cool. You can kind of like do these interesting swells and all that. So burst echo, quick, easy. And then I'll skip over the few there just to cut straight to the chase of the one I love the most is the stutter effect. Two different ways of using it. Two different ways of using the touch strip, I should say, is you can do length or you can do pitch. If you have stutter set to pitch, it acts like this, where you go, and you kind of have that control of it there. But this is kind of where it limits you. You can't do much with it. That's why it kind of works. The pitch works the best with a live performance beat, like where you're finger drumming and you want to play with one hand and kind of like pitch something down or quickly cut it and shift mute to transition to another track. But in this case where we're actually exporting a song, if I hit again just the guitar here, and you have control when you go to length of the pitch here and the stutter at which it actually the length at which it actually stutters. So you have your half, you have your quarter notes, and you have your eighths, 16ths, 32nd, and so on. The cool thing about it is, say we hold it here, so we're on 16th note. If you go backwards, it actually puts it in reverse. And if you go forward again, it brings it back. So this is where it's cool, where you hear me doing these things where I go, and you can kind of play around with that where to go up, doing things like that. Like, it's so interesting in tracks, especially when it's in the mix of everything, where it's so sick. I love that shit. Same thing, you use it on the drums. I use it on so many different instruments, different ways. It would be really, really, really dope if it could be used on the master, but unfortunately, no such luck. It just brings it to your first group, and that's it. So it's super simple. I didn't show you the process of how we made the track today, but I tried to keep this really quick and a super short video this week. If you're curious, as usual, about the gear I'm using, the plugins I'm using, most of the sounds you're hearing here, aside from a guitar sample I'm using from Sasha Kashperko, an amazing guitarist based out of Detroit, everything else is native instruments in the box. I mean, okay, except my drum sounds. Slappy drums, again, I went back to the Slappy kit, stolen drums, super dope. But if you're curious about any of these sounds, they're all native instrument sounds. I'm sure you guys have seen, but there's like a crazy sale going on. So if you were to buy anything native right now, I would suggest buying it. It's like 50% off a bunch of shit. So the links are below. Spotify, Apple Music, all that. I'm on every platform. Check it out. I'm dropping a track December 5th. It's called One Step Forward. And lastly, I'm going to be doing a short run of Behind the Pads hoodies, and they're super dope. I'll drop the images on my Instagram this week. But if you're interested in a hoodie, let me know in the comments below, because I'm curious just to get a gauge of how many I should actually make, and if people are going to pre-order them, or if I'm just going to make them and sell what I got, and that's that. So let me know in the comments below if you'd be interested in picking up a hoodie from your boy, Datsun. And as usual, I truly appreciate you coming back and watching. If you're new, ask your questions below. I try to address them. I try to answer them. If not in the comments, there's always people. It's amazing, the community that exists in YouTube and within Instagram. But specifically in the comment section of YouTube, and how many people in the producer community are willing to just answer questions so quickly, faster than I can get to them. So ask your questions below, because if it's not me that answers it right away, someone else will for sure. Let me know also in the comments below if you'd be into a live behind the pads. You know, I thought about doing something like that and streaming it live on YouTube. I just realized that you can do live streams from YouTube, or that I could do that. So let me know if it's something you're into as well. Alongside the hoodies, I guess that's it. Awesome. Well, thanks for watching. Until next time, peace, yo.